I run my hands together like this. All right, we're live. There we go. Perfect. What's up, everybody? We're live from Atlanta, Georgia here today, and we are with locumtenants.com. We're going to be talking about psychiatry, neurodiversity, and we're going to be answering all of your questions. And this episode is pretty cool because we're going to get to see how, a psychiatrist, like what goes on in their brain when, you come to see them and you come to get help. So I'm super excited about this. And I will let our guest introduce herself. And while she's doing that, go ahead and use the comment section to let me know what your name is and where you're checking in from.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Diaz Fernandez. My first name is Birmari, so I usually just go by my last name. It's easier. But I'm a psychiatrist with locum tenens, and I've been working with locum tenens for like 2.5 years. It's been incredible, and I can't wait to share with everybody how this experience has been. But I'm currently also in Atlanta, Georgia with Kojo. And I don't know, let's bring the questions. I just can't wait to share my story, and thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime. I'm happy to have you here. So let me see who all is in the chat. We have Shimei from Maryland, Jen from Boston, Candace from Indiana, Laura from Mississippi. Looking forward to hearing more. Maha from Vancouver, Kevin B in the chat. Kevin, what's going on? All right. So as people file in, and like I said, we're in Atlanta, Georgia today. We're not in Los Angeles. So I'm happy to be back home, Virginia.
And it's warmer, and it's right.
But this is a California day here on the East Coast, so I'm grateful for this because I got spoiled with the weather.
It's
so
beautiful.
I'm happy to be here. Vancouver, Georgia, Canada in the house. Jamie, Ireland, Donna, Australia. Okay, all right. So yeah, people checking from all over: North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida.
World.
Yeah, I know. Everybody wants to know the information. So as we get started, can you let people know, who you are and where you're from, and what made you want to be a psychiatrist?
Great. Oh my God, this is like an interview question. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm from Puerto Rico originally. My dad is from Puerto Rico. My mom is from Cuba. So like a super spicy, great mix there. And I wanted to be a psychiatrist since I was little. I was thinking about pediatrics a little bit, did the rotation, did not like it that much. And then went into psychiatry. I don't know, I bet you think the same. Like the human brain is something else.
It's fascinating.
It is. So I did the rotation, fell in love with it, fell in love with everything that has to do with behavioral health. And after residency and doing all my work as to be a psychiatrist, I started with locum tenens.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you said you were considering pediatrics, but
I know, I did.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's just it's challenging to me.
Okay. So you like working with kids?
I do, and because of locums, I'm able to see child and adolescent psychiatrists. Like I'm able to do it even though I'm not fellow trained,
right.
But I got the opportunity, so I've been getting the exposure of children and adolescents in psychiatry.
That's awesome.
It's kind of cool.
Okay,
yeah.
So we're going to get to know Dr. Diaz Fernandez, and we're also going to answer a couple of questions as they come in. We have one question right here. I'll let you start off with this one. Realtor Shimei Smith says, is it always ADD, ADHD, or is he being a stubborn teen?
What a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So that's kind of tough, right? Usually I don't like calling my patients stubborn, right? I think we're just different and unique. And when we have ADHD or ADD, it's even more uniqueness and beautifulness and unicorns and everything. So I think I wouldn't like to label anybody with stubborn, especially when you're a teen, when you're actually learning about yourself and growing, and then throwing a little bit of the ADHD.
Right. It's really difficult. And for Shimei Smith, that's why I always think it's great to, talk with teachers and just kind of see what the child is doing in different settings. Because sometimes, like, I remember when I was a kid, like I'd be a class clown, at home, and also
still
all the time. But some kids would be like perfect at school and would go home and, they, cut up, or vice versa. So sometimes, it could be ADHD or ADD, but the adjective stubborn, I like to stay away from that. Yeah. D says, OMG, Latina, who dances?
Sí, podemos hablar español. Por favor, a los que estén escuchando, que se hablen español, las preguntas tráiganlas en español. Me encanta hablar español y quisiera tener la oportunidad, él no está entendiendo nada, quisiera tener la oportunidad de poderle contestar preguntas en español a mis latinos. Okay.
I don't know what that means, but that sounded great. But people are tuning in, but it's such a valuable skill to be able to speak Spanish, and I'm working on it. And Candace says, I've been feeling super undermotivated but not depressed. I was wondering if ADD can look like this. I have 3 kids with ADHD.
Wow.
What's your thoughts on that?
So when it's the genetics are very real
Yeah.
in ADHD, like the genetics are real. So it's something that is definitely you can inherit and you can pass on to your kids. So definitely a symptom of ADHD is also being like procrastination and not being motivated. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. And actually, so Candace, this might bring value to you and other people who are watching right now. When, like, for somebody like her who has kids with ADHD and she wants to look for a diagnosis, what would you recommend? Because I know what I say, but I'm curious to see what you would say.
Wow, you put me in the spot like that.
Yeah.
So I think, first of all, trying to research a little bit about what it is and then actually finding a psychiatrist or a psychiatric provider to help you develop the diagnosis. It's very typical, right? Like at least it's, I don't know about you, but it's like bread and butter to see kiddos with ADHD. So if you feel comfortable and you feel strongly that you have a little bit of a worry that they might have that diagnosis, I would encourage you to reach out to a psych provider. I don't know if that's your answer.
That's my answer.
Okay.
That's exactly my answer. And I know you can go to a psychologist as well, but I feel like taking the most linear path, when you're in front of a provider who can prescribe medications, which is one of the biggest things that can help out with ADHD. It just cuts the steps. Because with ADHD, the more steps there are, the harder it is for the thing to get done. So that's my exact answer. But psychologists are, good as well.
Absolutely. It's just if they needed the medication.
Right. You can get it right then and there. Is it possible to manage ADHD without medications?
I'm Puerto Rican. I like doing my supplements and my behavioral stuff.
Okay. they'll love you because I hear some nootropics and there's all these supplements that people are asking me about. So what's your thoughts on that?
My typical go-to is there's a lot of behavioral changes that can be done, right?
Okay.
Like there's a lot of things you can learn to live with your ADHD, organization skills, behavioral skills you can do, but also there's some supplements, and that's more of what I've been reading just because I get the challenge of some parents not wanting to give their children medication, and I understand that. So there's a lot of changes that can be done with supplements like omega-3s, magnesium, zinc. So all of those goodies can actually help that cognitive function and will help ADHD symptoms.
And have you seen people get off of ADHD meds and be successful without it?
Yes, I have. I have.
I've seen that as
and
well.
It's because I think you would agree with me that when you're taking the medication, it helps you kind of take in those behavioral stuff and organization techniques and all of that.
And be more locked in.
Exactly. When you're without the medication, it actually helps you. You don't need them because you've implemented all those changes already. Exactly,
yeah. Because some people think that you're doomed without the meds, but you're not. All right, let me look at some more. Hey, Austin, how are you doing? That's a day one. Let me see. Let me get some of these questions from Atlanta. I appreciate you. Thank you for the love. I appreciate you. Are there certain foods that help with focusing and a better alternative to medicine? So you mentioned omega-3, but like, is there like a diet? Like, is there like a special type of fish that has all the omega-3s that we need?
That's a great question. I don't know because
I'm asking because I don't know. So I don't know.
But I think it's like at least a minimum of 500 in kids, like 500 mcg or mgs usually, and then 1,000 in adults. So it just depends. I think usually when it comes to diet and ADHD and most of our psychiatric disorders, if you have a healthy diet and a healthy living style, that's gonna come a long way.
Yeah, that's huge. And I cut out sugars, processed food, the synthetic dyes.
Good.
My dietitian had me cut out all of that stuff, and my focus was better. And exercise as well. Almost everybody that I've seen, who is doing ADHD without meds, they exercise pretty regularly.
I agree.
That's what I've seen. And Brittany says, best tip for a healthy work-life balance.
Oh, what a good question. I think it's, first of all, like doing what you love and at least finding
That's a big help.
Something in what you're doing that you enjoy. Even if it's like a little thing, even if it's like, I'm going to use this pink pen today and I feel good about it. Like something like that would help at least the work sort of part. The work-life balance, I think you have to figure out your needs in all aspects, right? Like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So kind of once you figure that out, work on those things. Like I usually every month do a list of like, I need this in all aspects, like physical, mental, emotional. And then I start working on them.
Smart.
During the month. I think I'm talking a lot.
No, that's good. And even to double back off of this, so I think I've spoken a little bit about this online, but I haven't talked about it a lot. But doing locums work for me was very helpful because I was able to be so flexible. I could be in California, Virginia, or wherever. And I felt like that made me the best provider for my patients. Because people would ask me, like, how do you have energy to come on live and you're smiling and you're clapping? But my work-life balance was good, but I wouldn't have been able to do that without locums.
Absolutely.
Like, there's no way I'm Dr. Kojo here with this book and all this without locum. I'm very grateful for locums,
Mhm.
the income, the flexibility. And that way, when I got to see my patients, I was always the best provider for my patients. So you say you've been doing locums for 2 years.
Absolutely. And to me, locums has been specifically that, like a work-life balance has been the priority of my recruiter, Joanna, has been the priority of everyone that helps me out in locum tenens, has been mostly work-life balance. Like, she knows, my recruiter is very aware, and I mean, we have dinner just to discuss my crazy schedule, and she's aware of that, and she's able to kind of figure out what works best for my work-life balance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the priority when you're doing locums, just like you said.
And how does that help you out when you see your patients? Do you feel like you're a better provider for them?
Absolutely, because your mental health, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're feeling better, you're doing what you like, and
Exactly.
all the kind of shitty stuff. The other
Yeah.
stuff does not get into
No,
it.
it is, it is that, and I work jobs I did not enjoy.
Yeah.
So being able to enjoy your job is extremely helpful. All right, and people said locums. Yes, so let me talk about locums real quick. So locums, so when you have a provider, so let's take psychiatry providers, for example, right? Psychiatrists, psych NP, psych PAs. Locums is like locum tenens. You can work with these companies and they can find you assignments and you don't commit to them for long periods of time. And the pay is competitive and the lifestyle, it puts you in a good position to where you can be the best for your patients because, I've had a lot of doctors reach out, and they've asked me to make videos about, suicide prevention from the perspective of healthcare providers.
Wow.
Because, that's an issue that we're not talking about. Like, who talks about, like, who takes care of Dr.
Correct.
Kojo? Who takes care of you,
Correct.
after you
Correct.
see patients
Correct.
for a whole day? So making sure that you have certain things in place to make you do your job with efficiency and have all your needs met, that's huge. Because sometimes you can have, we'll answer this question in a second, but you can have a great doctor, a great psychiatrist, but if they're not okay with themselves, if they're not compensated, if they're worried about their finances or kids or relationship issues, they're going to be burnt out. Yeah. Burnout. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah.
So provider health is patient health. No, and that's something that I haven't talked about enough. I need to talk about, mental health from the perspective of the provider, because people, wonder, like, how can people, how do you keep seeing people? And we are patients too. We are patients too.
True.
We are patients too. So I answered locums. All right, I might go backwards and answer a couple of questions, but let's answer this question right here. So Candace, this is a fantastic question. Candace says, what should we look for when selecting a psychiatrist?
Wow.
Well, they have to be locums for. But I'll let Dr. Diaz answer that question.
I typically, to me, and it's more because I'm a board certified psychiatrist, I typically tell family members and friends, just go to that website, try to find like a board certified psychiatrist or board certified practitioner so that you're aware that they at least got the credentials.
Okay.
After that, I personally just, again, as mentioned earlier, like a patient, I would prefer someone who speaks my language, who can understand my culture, who will know what plátanos is and amarillos are and all of that, and basically can relate to me a little bit, because I think that's huge. Like we said earlier, to be able to relate as a psychiatrist is extremely important. So I think those are my preferences.
So for someone who, let's say Latino, like, and you're looking for a Latino psychiatrist, there's very few Latino psychiatrists. Like, you're probably one of the more prominent ones. So what would somebody do in that case?
And in that, you're making it difficult.
It is hard.
In that case, I typically, like, depending on the financial, right, where you are in finances, there's certain providers that would work with insurances to accept your insurance, and maybe finances is an important part, and you might just go to whatever psychiatrist accepts your insurance, which again, that credentialing, that's why some providers don't accept insurances, because the process is so difficult. But that's why the work-life balance, again, with locum tenens, like, they do all that work for me. I don't have to be doing credentialing and any of that.
It's very helpful.
So I'm able to see more patients because they're helping me with that process.
No, I don't know what I would have done without locums, honestly. My dad has ADD. I was just saying. So, let me see. I know I need to get diagnosed by a doctor, but I don't have health insurance other than family planning. So Skilo, we talked about this a little bit earlier, and like I said, if like ideally it's great to have a psychiatrist or provider who understands you, but if you can't get to that person, whoever you can get to in the meantime is helpful. If somebody has a sliding scale to where you can get in and it's
Exactly.
affordable, whatever you can do, or even if you can start taking steps towards improving your life, like
Correct.
you're waiting for an appointment, but in the meantime you're eating properly, you're sleeping, you're taking care of yourself.
Exercising.
Exercise, yeah. I
Mhm.
added exercise and better diet to avoid meds. Okay, respect. And ADHD is a blessing. Oh wow, okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's another way
Aw.
to look at it.
Yeah.
And I'm see, ADHD brains are truly wired differently. Thoughts. I believe that.
Me too.
I
But that's
believe that.
different. It's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. That needs to be put on a shirt. Different is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, like, I know that I'm different, but I'm grown now. So, whereas when I was in middle school, I'm like, oh, I can't get things done on time. And it was a big issue. But I like different is not bad. I like that.
I'm gonna add something very quickly.
Mhm.
I don't know if we've shared before, but like it was said that we're patients too, right? So
Right.
sometimes we need to learn about ourselves. And just
Right.
giving you an example of my case, I am very neurodivergent and ADHD-ish, and I
Mhm.
need a lot of things being done. So
Right.
that's why I think locum tenens has been perfect.
Yeah.
Because they organize it
Yeah.
for me. I know what I'm going into. So it's like all those kind of ADHD symptoms that
Yeah.
maybe might affect my work-life balance.
Yeah.
It's getting ticked off with them.
No, that's so helpful. And I remember telling my patients, because I've always worked locums actually. They'd ask me about like, oh, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, or they'd see like some of the stuff that I'm doing on the news, and they'd ask how I have time to do all these things. And I would pretty much say that I have a system. Like if you have ADHD, you have to know, you have to figure out like what's your system.
Yeah.
For me, my system, like if the job is taken care of, and I'm like you're able to be flexible with the job, not too much of a commitment. That's something that those of us with ADHD may struggle with.
Yeah.
It's a perfect job for me.
Exactly.
So my setup can be something that you can mirror, regardless of whatever job you have.
Yeah.
But I think it is cool for people to see what the providers, live like,
Mhm.
and see what, and because sometimes people be confused as to why did my psychiatrist switch after 3 months?
Exactly.
know,
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
huge.
kind of weird, but I think in this country to have a provider is a privilege,
Yeah.
even if they're a bad one. I hate to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate to say that.
This is true.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. Can you take ADHD meds abroad? I'm flying to Greece tomorrow. Love my quirkiness, by the way. Julie, I love the show right there. We do love the show anytime people divulge anything, or I think, it's a good moment. Ooh, can you take ADHD meds abroad?
Depending on the
Depending.
medication. Yeah, there's certain controlled substances that even here may not be controlled, but over there they are. So I would do a quick Google about Greece precisely, like their border stuff, because if it has your prescription name, it has everything, you can get it through here. I don't know where they are coming back.
Wow.
That's what because I've had patients sometimes go to Italy and they're having a hard time with getting their medication.
Wow, we might have to clip that because I did not know the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
If you could take your meds abroad.
I would check. Certain controlled substances, I don't think you can.
Wow.
Mhm. It's ridiculous.
And Lyndon says depends on the country as well, but bring a note from the doctor. I did it with.
Thank you.
That'd be a great idea. Yeah, just in case, because it's a controlled substance,
Yeah.
and people divert them, So.
Great.
Sarah says most healthcare providers come from stress and trauma, so we are more susceptible to neurodivergent and brain development. Therapy is finding it. Oh yeah, therapy is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy is super helpful.
Super.
Leilani is one of my moderators. What's up, Leilani? How are you doing? Signification. Different cultures and systems keep people safe in this.
That's
Okay.
Beautiful.
Your videos help me start conversations with my daughter. She's 18 about her ADHD. Kelly, I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm very grateful for this community. They're super awesome. How do you go into a new job when you've got health issues and you need flexibility? That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll answer this first since I've been making you answer all the questions
Thank
first.
you.
I'll say it depends on the rapport you have with your boss.
Yeah.
Like when I started my first job, I wasn't even comfortable telling my boss that I had ADHD. So what I did was I just showed up to the job super early. I came like 90 minutes early and I left late. I did it for like 2 months before I knew all the patients. And then at that point, I could come in like late and I knew the job. But I don't know. I didn't say anything, but I should have.
You should have,
Yeah.
definitely.
because
Definitely.
looking back, he was very accommodating, but it's difficult because I guess I was worried about the stigma, so it's tough divulging information when you don't know how people will receive it. But I think when you have health issues, like, and you, it's gonna be hard to be at a job for a long period of time if you can't, if
Correct.
it's not sustainable.
And it's not
You know.
it's not fitting if someone doesn't accept that you have that.
Mm.
It might not be a fit for you,
Right.
or at least like that's again going back to the locums thing.
Mhm.
But that's with locum tenens, I can see what this is not a good fit. This might be it. So
Right.
if you are able to at least share that information, set your boundaries, and if they don't agree with that, then that's not a good workplace.
I agree. Or maybe it's a temporary job, but like
Correct.
for long periods of time, you want to be somewhere where you're comfortable.
Mhm.
All right. Ooh, so Brittany says, and we'll get to this one next. How to break up with a bad provider. I want to get to that. So Brittany says, what is your favorite thing about working locums?
Everything.
I'll let
No,
you go first.
let me say my recruiter. I think my recruiter has been incredible. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have stuck so long. Like I think the customer service or like provider services they provide, they're awesome. They're very available. They respond to questions at any point, emails at 4 a.m, phone calls at 4 a.m. So they're always very available. So how they treat us and how respected we feel, at least as providers with them, is a whole nother level. They not only respect time, but they fit your schedule. The pay is very
Yeah.
good, extremely good, way more than if you were doing it on not out of locum. So they respect certain aspects of what
Yeah.
it needs to be, what it means to be a provider.
Yeah. My favorite thing about locums, oh my goodness, so many things. The pay is helpful, but I think if you'd asked me when I first started, I would have said the pay, because coming out of school, I had like credit card debt, and I needed to knock that stuff off.
Student
Yeah,
loan.
student loan debt.
Yeah.
So once I got to like clear some debt off, I could breathe. Because I'm the type of person that if I have like a lot of financial issues, I can't breathe. I don't want to do anything. I don't want like I need
That's
to
your
take care of
boundary.
that. Right. So but I'll probably say now the how locums has helped me reframe, my relationship with commitment. It's kind of weird, but like I would do locums for long periods of time, but I knew that I only had to be committed to it for 3 months at a time.
Me too, and that was
And
a relief
yeah,
to be able to
No,
say
it-
like it's only 3
right.
months.
and I think that's really helpful. People don't realize how like it's a big thing for Brittany. Let's say you live in Kansas City and then you move to South Carolina for a
Right.
job. You might not like the job after 2 months, but now you've moved your whole,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
being able to work locums either remote or I can do it for 3 months. And then once I did my first locums assignment, I knew I was going to do it for years.
Mhm.
But I had to reframe my relationship with commitment. Like the same reason why I got a dog after a bad breakup. I'm like, all right, I need a dog. It makes sense if it makes sense. But it's working out. My system is working out, so it's been helpful. Any tips for how to break up with a bad provider, or maybe one who's just not a good fit for you? I'm too much of a people pleaser. This is a great
Aw.
question.
Thank you for sharing that, though, Pam. That you've been so insightful that you realized.
This is a great question.
Mhm.
Because I ghosted my first therapist. I won't lie, because I didn't know how to break up with them. Because I didn't know you at the time. You didn't
There
give
we
the
go.
answer. So
No, but I think that's a great question, right? You should
Mhm.
never see a provider who you don't feel is a good fit.
Right.
That's not, you're limiting yourself to and your growth and how much you're going to get better. And I know the people pleaser is strong, but maybe getting to the point that you feel better about saying it could just be writing it down, could be just
Yeah.
baby steps. Okay, today I'm going to record it in a voice recording. Today I'm
Yeah.
going to write it down, and then just slowly, progressively letting them know. But I
Yeah.
think you should definitely speak up for what you need. That's extremely important.
Yeah, and like now when I realize that I'm afraid to do a certain thing, I work my way towards doing it, especially when it comes to boundaries. Because if you don't set boundaries in that area, it'll be hard for you to set boundaries in another part of your life. Because things kind of carry over from what I've seen.
Mhm.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good question right here. If you have ADHD and bipolar disorder, are there medications that can help both, or is there specific medications for each individual disorder? Ooh, I have some thoughts on this. You want to go first, or?
You want to go first?
All right, so it's funny because a lot of people, I don't know if it's a TikTok thing or I don't know where it came from, but a lot of people don't realize that you can have both. You can have ADHD and bipolar disorder. And I rarely see people with just ADHD.
True.
Like it'll be anxiety or PTSD or like depression.
It's true.
A lot of times depression and ADHD, I feel like those are siblings. And ADHD and bipolar, I think that they're cousins.
Yeah.
Because right, they're kind of close. So it just depends a lot.
Yeah.
Like if normally what happens, or maybe because I've been doing inpatient psych for so long, you would address the bipolar first and make sure that they're safe, and then you'll go from there. But the meds are different, and they tend to do different things. But like I've had to worry about sometimes, maybe mania happening from the stimulants, but for the most part, the medications are different. Stimulants for ADHD, and then mood stabilizers and antipsychotics for the bipolar.
That's a great answer. And I think you, Bria, maybe you bring it up more because I work more with outpatient, so like outpatient patients. And in my private practice, and I think I feel it, like as an outpatient, there's a lot of stigma of like, well, are you actually bipolar? Like this old school kind of provider. Well, I'm not going to give you this medication or that, but it's definitely treated with different medications, just like Dr. Cordo said.
Yeah, but people can have both. That's a really good question. And so Leilani, one of the moderators, saying that if you don't want me to put your question on the screen, just put no show comment, please read, because everybody can see these comments, and it's going to remain on the internet for end of time. Locums is for providers, but if a patient is also working in healthcare, locums can be good for them. Let's say they're a nurse practitioner or a PA or a physician. Locums could be helpful for them. Let me see, get to some good questions. And Lyndon, thank you for your attention. Can people see the cup? Yeah, we are going to give away one of these cups. It's kind of hard because there we go. Yeah.
Hey, teamwork.
We'll give away one of these cups, and we'll give away a copy of my book as well. To one random person who's commented on this live stream, and I'll make sure that my assistant gets that to you all. So I do want to mention that. And feel free to put your question in there again if you I didn't answer it. Let me see. Ooh, right here. Would you call TBI a form of neurodiversity? If so, why? Wow. This is a really good question.
That's a great question.
I don't know, but I mean, like if you break down the word neurodivergent, correct, you really could put TBI in there.
Yeah. And the symptoms typically that you get out of having a TBI, depending where it was, it could be a lot of cognitive function changes that we see a lot in neurodiversity. So absolutely.
Yeah, no. And I don't know, it's like right now, like I keep up with how things are online. It looks like the term neurodivergent, people are kind of gatekeeping it, like ADHD and autism. But it's more than that. But if you break down like the word neurodivergent, I could consider TBI a form of it.
Absolutely.
And thoughts on genetic testing?
That's a tough one. Okay, in my private practice, guilty. I use it all the time.
Okay.
I rely on it a lot to get actually the medication that the patient needs, because it tells us how you metabolize the medication, if it's faster, if it's slower, if something's going to make you toxic, if it's going to be too much of a high dose, too low. So instead of just like randomly just throwing meds, I kind of use it as a guide. And I tell my patients, keep it, because it tells us certain enzymes in the liver, or like how do you break up certain medications. So it's very, very helpful. I have them all take a screenshot and everything to take to their primary care. I'm very geeky with that.
That's super cool. That's super cool.
So with the gene side, the American Psychiatric Association doesn't approve it, or like doesn't tell us like, hey, you should actually be using it to make medical decisions or pharmacological decisions, but it's a great tool to have.
Yeah, no, it's a good tool, and I get this question all the time, and the reason why I like is
I don't know how I like it. That's okay.
No, I like it, but I don't know how practical it is.
To me, it is. To me, it is very
practical.
To me, it is.
Oh wow,
because
okay.
Especially patients.
I need to talk to you then.
Yes, and especially patients who have tried, a lot of medication doesn't fit, and instead of giving up, sometimes, which a lot of providers do, or just start throwing random medication combinations, it helps us. It guides us a little. I don't know. I use it a lot.
No, that's really good. I guess I'm so used to working with patients who just like low income, and so it made it hard for.
And an inpatient, I bet you can't get that.
Right. So like genetic testing was always something that I was like, we can never get around to it. Yeah. Even something like Vyvanse, I don't think I've ever prescribed that, to be honest.
Because it's extremely expensive.
Right. So I'm always thinking about cost. I'm like, how much does this cost? This is affordable.
That's the inpatient brain, you're right. And outpatient is a little different.
But a world where we could do this would be really cool.
Beautiful.
because people wouldn't have to go through
the side effects of having a year worth or 6 months worth of a medication
everything.
that did not fit, then the withdrawals from getting off of it. So it is, yes, I use it as a tool whenever my patients have at least 2 or 3 medication trials. I'm not going to keep making more changes, and I typically just use this as a guide.
Okay, no, that's awesome. And UAB Hospital in Birmingham apparently does that testing for free.
Great.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
wow,
cool.
Because it's expensive. Good.
Yeah. All right, let me see. We got a question from Bria. How's one decipher between? I think she's saying PMDD
Mm-hmm.
and bipolar disorder. You want to take this question?
Sure, PMDD, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So PMDD, I am glad that you bring it up. I love women's health. That's one of my passions. So with PMDD, we can have some mood swings, right? Like in the bipolar disorder, but we never meet that criteria of hypomania or mania. This changes in sleep happen, but we don't get a lot of energy after decrease or changes in sleep, like maybe with bipolar disorder. Sometimes you might see it, and I bet that's why you're asking, like, PMDD, why am I using a mood stabilizer for that? And I think it's more because of those shifts in mood and not necessarily for a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. But yeah, even the ups and downs, but it's not as drastic, or at least if we go by the DSM-5, right? It's not that as drastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, that's a great answer. And it's funny because with PMDD, psychiatry's responsibility would be like with antidepressants, right? Because I've never prescribed birth control, so I don't know what that's like. But it'd be antidepressants, whereas with bipolar disorder, antidepressants will kind of, maybe cause mania. Yeah. That's a great answer. I like how you explain that. And Candace says, I didn't get diagnosed until my mid-30s. They say bipolar, but not sure which type. They kept giving me antidepressants. I knew it was ADHD. I have 3 children with it. I could not get diagnosed in California. Oh, no, that's my state, California. That's why it took forever. Got diagnosed in Washington. So, Candace, it's really rough. And I play this game sometimes on live stream where I ask people to, put the age that they were diagnosed with ADHD in.
That's cute.
Yeah. Okay. If you were diagnosed with ADHD late in life, you could drop your age in the comments. But what I'm seeing consistently is that people are having to wait years and years and years. And it's I think it's the most treatable condition.
Exactly. It's life-changing when you treat it.
It's literally life-changing.
Oh, my goodness.
Let me see. Hello, Dr. Software team. Can I know which perspective you are coming from blending diversity with neuroscience, may I ask? Wow. See, I don't quite understand that question. Diversity with neuroscience. Do you understand the question?
I at least let me see what I understood. And I'm sorry because there's a language barrier, and then, so work with me. But maybe when we did the question of the TBI, maybe that's why you're referring, because usually with the changes in the brain or some like trauma or some change to the brain can actually lead to some symptoms that match maybe kind of, that neurodiversity perspective. I think. I don't know.
And that's what I was thinking too. So Nora, if you have any thing to add on to that,
Please.
On to that. And Sarah says, from a therapist recovery perspective, a lot of good clinical investigative questions and monitoring. There's a lot of causes. Okay, I'm not sure what that was. In relation to, so Laura was diagnosed with ADHD at 20. I say it's fairly young for a woman, which is sad.
Super.
20 is already kind of like pushing. 52. And Candace says 47. She's been on Vyvanse for years. Wow. Same diagnosis with depression, but I think it's ADHD. And so can you speak to why, a provider or psychiatrist would get a diagnosis wrong? Because I'm sure I've gotten some wrong, but what's your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a good question. So I think it's lack of knowing your patient, I think, first of all, because again, being that we sometimes have to work with insurance companies or inpatient, we have a lot of patients, we don't have enough time to spend with patients, and we don't get to know them as well, or maybe do as much as scales or as a thorough assessment as we need to. That could be one, and that is the sad truth, right? Another one could be maybe that they were just focusing on asking you questions about a specific topic,
potentially,
and then they just talk about anxiety. You said you were stressed, and we just focus on that anxiety and not open up to other aspects. That's why you have to speak up for yourself, especially with any provider. No provider, no matter the specialty, you need to speak up with what you're feeling.
Right. And I agree. Sometimes people will like come to my live stream and say, I know I have this, but I didn't tell my doctor about X, Y, and Z. And if you can speak up for yourself, it's one of the best things that you can do, because that way like you're practicing boundaries, you're practicing being assertive.
Exactly.
And it's not that you're saying that your doctor doesn't know what they're talking about, but they don't know you.
As much as
know.
you do, as much
Right.
as you know yourself.
They
Like,
know their
it's
job, but
impossible.
they don't know you.
That's beautiful.
And I tried, thank you. I'm trying to explain to my doctor my symptoms, but they're changing constantly. I'm not convinced I have bipolar, but I get some mag at times. And this most recent episode, we close the menstrual cycle, and they've been confused. So, Bria, and first of all, thank you for sharing. I appreciate you.
Yes.
And I hope the education of PMDD versus bipolar was helpful to you. I think that's why it's helpful to see a provider because, when people say manic, I'm not sure what people mean by manic.
And it's different for everybody.
Right. Because like I hear the term, oh, I'm manic today. I'm like, oh, if you're manic today and you're not manic tomorrow, it's not really mania, because
Based on the DSM-5.
right. Because I'm like, oh, it's not been 4 days. It's been one,
Exactly.
But a lot of things can look like mania, like if I'm up, when I was in school up at night studying, like I'd be like, oh my gosh, am I hypomanic because I've been up? But like I was up studying. So a lot of things could look like certain things.
Just Bria, just one quick tip if I can give you. Just start tracking your mood. Okay, get like a scale, an app or something. That's what I ask all my patients. Try to get a scale, and then when you go to the appointment, you can just show it, and that will speak volumes because then we can see how you're cycling if you were.
Actually, no, that's fantastic because when you go in and PMDD is like suspected, that's probably what that's what would happen anyway.
And then you're one step ahead, so you didn't miss an appointment. You gotta, your lab's done already, sort of.
That's awesome. And Candace is saying thanks so much. This is so helpful. And that's the goal of this. If you have any questions, continue to ask us questions about psychiatry or maybe about our work-life balance. Yeah. We'd love to answer it.
About locum tenens and the giveaway.
Yes, it's a good time to remind you all that we will be giving away one of these and a copy of my book as well. So we will be picking the winner, and you definitely want to tune in for the winner. We'll make an announcement as well. Let me see. Brain Energy by Dr. Chris Palmer. He uses the ketogenic diet to treat mental health patients. Mental disorders are actually metabolic diseases. So I have not read that book, and I feel like diet is a big thing that can help out. But I don't think that diet alone can cut it for some people. There's a lot of people who have tried to eat their way to not having bipolar disorder or a certain thing. But so diet is important. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes I hate to say this, but sometimes there's no way around medications, at least for a certain period of time. That's what I've seen. So not to scare people, but sometimes it's hard to get around.
And it shouldn't be a stigma with the medicine.
Right.
I caught you on that one.
Right.
It shouldn't scare people. Okay?
Yeah. No, it shouldn't. But I'm always trying to make it nice because
I'm Puerto Rican. I get it.
Oh yeah. Same here. Same here. Bria says the mania works so well for my college degree. Yeah, that's the problem with mania. Sometimes it's fun, it's productive, and it's a hell of a lot better than depression. So sometimes people, I have patients who are waiting for themselves to be manic again so they can get things done.
Yeah, that's so sad.
And then they'll just kind of manage their risk from there, Let me see. Water. Oh, Mickey Ficky. Oh, so Leilani is one of the moderators. So normally at the 30-minute mark, we do a water break. So water break.
That's so cute.
I think I was telling you about this. The water break is where we get some water in because we forget to drink water. So
wow, very important.
Right, and there's a magic word. Oh, that's the magic word. Somebody has to type in cheers. That's the magic word. Once we get the magic word in, then we can go ahead and start the water break.
I didn't know that. That's adorable, but you didn't drink water.
Oh, you can't drink now. They have to say cheers first. It's all good. They gotta say cheers first.
Sorry.
They gotta say cheers. All right, cheers.
Thank you.
Big cheers.
Okay.
I'm not gonna try this whole
thing. That was a good water break.
I was about to chug it all, but I don't want to be a bad example for
Gatorade
the kids.
commercial. Sorry.
Yeah. Big cheers. Take a deep breath out. Awesome. All right. Now we're gonna answer more of your questions. Any questions you have? If there are any questions you ever wanted to ask psychiatrist or psychiatry provider or anything about our lifestyles, let us know.
And about locum tenens, if there's any providers interested, I'm just going to take one quick break to let you know that I'm very grateful for this company for giving me the opportunity, just again, working around my ADHD and my
Yeah.
work-life balance and my work schedule. And also to the point that they gave me, I want to say financial help in a
Yeah.
sense, because I was able to build my private
Yeah.
practice while doing locums, and I'm still doing locums. I really enjoy it. So just
Right. And actually, I'll say this about locums. One of the
Spanish. Sorry, someone commented salud in Spanish.
that means thanks, right? Yeah,
Cheers.
okay. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't spent enough time on Duolingo. I'm still stuck on El Nino. All right. So one more time about locums. I will say this. People always ask me like, what are jobs that are good for somebody with ADHD? And I think it's important to realize that there's certain stuff that we have to do that make us money so we can live, and there's things that we have to do that we like to do for fun. And when we can, for me, like when the thing that I'm doing for fun is what I'm making money with, I feel so fortunate because, like,
Yes.
working locums, like I don't know about you, like I always feel like I'm overpaid. I won't say anything, but I'm overcompensated. Like I'm coddled. Like everything is organized for me. And even like I show up to this late because I'm not in California. So when I'm out of my system, it's really hard for me to keep things going. So when you have ADHD or when you're neurodivergent or different, it's good to build that system for yourself, you know, and that system, like whenever you meet people, they're coming into your world. They're coming into your world. So I'm so grateful for locum tenens just for the flexibility. And putting me in a position to where I can not only see patients, but also, you know, explore other things that I like. Because when you don't do things that you enjoy, it kind of kills your soul.
Correct. Burnout.
Right.
They said it earlier.
Burnout. And sometimes you have to switch things up. No,
and to figure out,
right.
Like that's part of the process. You need to figure out. That's why to me it was so huge. I came out of residency. Do I want to do inpatient? Do I want to do outpatient? What do I want to do? And with locums, I got the opportunity to explore a little bit of that. Inpatient, outpatient, figure out.
This was the right choice, I'm
Mhm.
sure. And Ivy, let me know your question again. I need provider in LA for my team. So Candace, there's so many different places, but check out Visions Adolescent Treatment Center in LA because I'm in LA, so I have a good plug for you there. And Sarah says, I'm procrastinating from my notes work with y'all's live stream. Sorry for bombing your comments. Sarah, you're all good. I live for the engagement, so you're good.
Yeah.
I'm interested in my son for local. So, Shemay, what does your son do? Is he a medical provider of any sort? Because if he is, I think he would love locum tenens. And also, if you have any friends who are, you know, nurse practitioners, psychiatrists, or any type of medical professional, any type of doctor, any type of, you know, PA or NP, this can be something that's very helpful for them, especially with remote work. And I want to say that now you're able to prescribe control sub. Remember, they're gonna
They extended it.
yeah, they extended it. So right now it's looking like a world where like some people will just not be able to see a provider if we rely on like in-person stuff.
Yeah.
So with the boom of telehealth, I think this is a major way that people can get the help that they
Increasing
need.
access, absolutely.
You know, getting meds on time, getting
Yeah.
therapy.
Mhm.
All right. Listen to your favorite films in Spanish. But Ashley, I love this show right there. I never thought about that.
He needs to learn Spanish.
I never thought about
Thank
that. I do. I will learn Spanish. What's your take on a child who loves to hold onto a ball, throwing ball, or hold onto a pencil? Please advise. I don't know. I don't have any kids either. You know?
Me neither, but that's very typical with, at least I'm not sure the age, but it's very typical to have just a specific kind of sensory preference, right? And kids like either touching, and then it's maybe just a particular sensory effect that it causes. It could be like a kind of like a Sharpie. I don't know. I'm imagining the glitter pencils that I had when I was in elementary school, and I loved touching them just because it was like a little scratch.
Mhm.
So I don't know
That's
if
a
that
great
has to
answer.
do with anything, but like the sensory response in kids is huge.
That's a great answer because I saw kids. I was like, oh, I'm freaking out. It's a great answer. Kenzie says, "Where's the line between quirks and being neurodivergent?" Ooh, I think sometimes it overlaps.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
overlaps for me.
I
And
agree.
like when we talk about quirks and idiosyncrasies and whatever is different about a certain person, when a lot of people do a certain thing and it becomes accepted, then like you feel more comfortable showing people. But you can have a quirk, and I think it can be something that is part of you as a neurodivergent being.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great answer.
Yeah. Okay. Disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, also a diagnosis
Ooh,
used
DMDD.
in adults. Is it?
The DSM-5 is just specifically say that the symptoms have to be in a certain time range, right? So usually disruptive mood dysregulation disorders, when you're an adult, we like screening for other like bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, or anxiety, or even ADHD recently. So a lot of misdiagnosis with that one, but if you go by the DSM-5, it's certain age range, like 10 to 18.
It's been once I've had that diagnosis or seen a patient with that.
You had it?
Huh?
You had a patient like that or never?
No, it's been a while.
It's outpatient. That's like a very typical outpatient
Oh, okay,
diagnosis.
okay.
Like I see it all the time.
Yeah, inpatient, I guess this would
It's
be
different.
unspecified mood disorder.
Exactly.
I have major sensory issues as well. Yeah, so sensory issues is definitely a neurodivergent thing.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think people should talk about more. Sometimes they can even mess up relationships. Like if somebody's touching you and you don't like it, the lights are too bright. If people are, my mom, when she chews gum, she'll chew so loud, and like I had to I get the courage one day and tell her, I'm like, Mom, like you're chewing loud, and now she knows.
And that's the boundaries as well. Like when I was discussing the physical, the emotional aspects and self-care and boundaries that you need, sensory should be one.
Yeah.
Like just like, okay, I prefer to use this type of outfit, or today I feel like I just want to wear my fluffy socks. And that's just very important. It should be part of those kind of big physical, emotional, sensory should be there.
Yeah, it's huge because the discomfort can make it difficult to do anything.
Correct.
Kendra, what's going on? She's one of the moderators. Picked up her son from daycare. Appreciate you, Kendra. Thank you so much. And all right. So for those people who are interested in doing locums work, you can fill out this landing page, and the recruiter will get back to you. The link is right here. And if you have any friends who are in the healthcare field and they're working and they're a little bit stressed out, you can mention this to them. I think the lack of commitment that you have to place to a certain position past like 3 or 6 months can be very helpful. And the majority of people that I know who started off doing locums never went back to working. Yeah, like me. Like you never, like you just keep doing locums for a long period of time. So it's funny how you reframe things.
Yeah, and it's very important too. Like I think when locum tenens started, at least based on my residency, I don't know about your training, but there was a huge stigma with locum tenens of like, locum tenens, you shouldn't be doing that. That's just temporary work. They don't get well paid, or they have a background malpractice lawsuit. That's all in the past. That's not true at all. But that stigma, I remember when I was in training, like, you're actually doing locum tenens. That stigma is gone, right? It's more people that are neurodivergent, that have ADHD, that want to live a great work-life balance, go into this. So please check it out. Reach out to someone from locums. I bet you've been deleting, if you're a provider, you've been deleting their emails. Don't delete them. Reply. Okay.
I knew I was going to do locums, but my last year in school, I had a friend, my cousin's girlfriend at the time. She was doing locums, and she told me like how much she got paid. I saw her work-life balance. Yeah. And I was hooked. I knew I was going to do locums. It was just a matter of who I did it with, but I knew I was going to do locums from the moment that I graduated, because it made sense for me. And I had no kids, so I was able to do it
and explore what you actually wanted. That's the big part.
Exactly. And you end up like doing it for so long. And Candace, Visions Adolescent Treatment Center in Los Angeles. Can you do it for nursing? I don't believe so.
Can we do it for nursing? I think so.
Like nursing as an RN, not NP? I don't think so.
Oh, nurse practitioner then. Okay,
no, right.
RN, no.
And NP for sure, and PA as well. I know that much. And
CRNAs.
Physicians. And CRNAs too. CRNAs too, yeah. Me personally, if you ask me, I don't know if my opinion means anything, but I would never do anything outside of locums.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, so NPs can do locums, SFAs, CRNAs, CNMs. So that's nursing. Can all do locums. And right here, so Hunter is a psych recruiter that works with me. If you have any questions, email him at hcoleman@locumtenens.com. And Hunter, I'm going to email you because my dad's actually looking for a job, and he's a psych NP. And I told him that I was coming here, so I'm going to email Hunter because
you're putting Hunter on the spot in the line. Okay, he's giving you work, Hunter.
Right.
Have more work.
So you'll get email from my dad. Locums that's all I can talk about. And Nurse says ADHD diagnosis and meds plus DBT was such a significant help. I don't know locum tenens, excited to learn about it. So thank you for your comment. I'm a big fan of DBT. I think DBT can be helpful for not just borderline, just anybody.
I've actually been working on, this is
Mhm.
FYI, like on in TMI as well, which I do all the time. You know
Mhm.
that.
Oh, it's all
But
good.
it's like
We like that out here.
I am doing a neurodivergent workbook that is all DVD. It's
Oh,
beautiful. I've been working on coloring. It has doodling spots, so I love it. But and I can share the name later because I don't know if I'll get in trouble if I share it here. But
okay.
it is a great workbook. Maybe we can.
No. We'll definitely work together. I'd love to see the workbook. And I bought a workbook a couple years ago, and I said I was gonna like journal and color and draw in it. And I bought it, and then I forgot about it. I lost it.
No self care.
I lost it. Vicky. Leilani, I'm gonna actually let me answer this quick, and then we'll get to Williams. I'm not doing locums now. My schedule is crazy, but if Hunter can find me a part-time locum job, yeah, for sure. Like I love locums. Like sometimes I'll be sitting there in California, and I'll miss talking to people. I know social media, like you make a difference, but sometimes like I'll get a high from like somebody who was like, oh, thank you so much, like because like especially when it's like depression or ADHD. Like a lot of times, like I love it. Like depression's fine, like we'll wait for the SSRIs to kick in. But when you have an ADHD patient, I love like prescribing the medications, and then like the very next appointment, you see the significant difference. And then I'm like, okay, all right, like I know I'm making a difference.
And it's
now.
not only like how they present themselves. You
Mhm.
see the patient getting better in all aspects of their
Right.
life, family, work. It's
Right.
just it's life changing.
Yeah, I remember a patient of mine in Arizona. I'm so proud of him. Obviously, I won't say names, but he was 16 years old. He had ADHD and a couple of other things and a lot of trauma. And I remember my last appointment with him, talking to his mom. He had gone from like a failing student. His grades were good. He was sober. So I was so proud of him. And I was like, and I told my parents, I'm like, man, this guy, he's making such a like he's 16. You're very, impressionable at that age, but like he let his friends know, and he started hanging in better circles. So I love seeing that difference. I miss that.
Very rewarding.
I miss that. What's the coloring book that you're making it? Okay, all right. We'll have more details on that.
Mm-hmm.
And
En
what?
español. Sorry.
No, and I'll learn my Spanish. What recommendations do you have for someone attempting to manage ADHD without health insurance and no access to medications? Good question. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I would say that like if you suspect that you have ADHD, I would start doing the self-care, things to help you, like trying to fix your diet, whether it's increasing omega-3 or taking out, the Chick-fil-A and all the processed foods. Nothing against Chick-fil-A, but like when I was out here in the East Coast, I could eat Waffle House 5 times a week.
Oh my
It was
God.
bad, and then now like I don't have a taste for that anymore. I go.
But it didn't help your ADHD.
No,
eating that way.
no, it didn't help at all. Like I was sluggish, I was tired, I was behind, and I'm already struggling to get to places on time.
Exactly.
So exercise is also a really key thing, William. I work out like 6 times a week, and like now if I don't work out in the morning, my mood is off.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all natural things that can help out while you're getting that professional help.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. I don't serve patients in Maryland. Do you serve patients in Maryland?
Mm-mm. No.
Okay. Where do you see patients at?
Oh my God. Okay. So Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama, New Hampshire, Wisconsin.
Wow, all over.
I see a lot of places, but at least locums wise, that's another huge part of locums. They actually, all those licenses, they actually help me get them.
Yeah.
And I just kept them.
And that's huge because I remember when oh my goodness, like when I went to California,
Licensing.
like I didn't get my license with locums, so it cost
Oh
me
my God.
thousands of dollars to renew the licenses, and it also took so long because I kept forgetting things. So like oh my gosh,
It's terrible.
like I forgot how dependent I was on that system.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it cost me so much money.
I know.
Oh my
And time.
gosh, and time. The time was worse because I couldn't do it consecutively
Mm-mm.
because I would forget.
And you miss this thing. You miss this thing.
Yeah, I miss this thing in the California and then Arizona and then Nevada. Oh my gosh, it's too much.
But locum tenens can help with that.
Locums can definitely help with that. And Ivy had a question. Let me see. So, roadblocks for medications in the aviation field. Oh, like pilots.
They also have a website.
for pilots.
That some of them are approved, some of them aren't, and that's it's tough. That's a line of field, like a work field, that's very tough to treat because they are very strict in what medications they let them take. So it's a little frustrating for us because we are very limited to how we can help the patient.
Yeah. And it's kind of like military as well. There's a lot of things that make it hard. And let me see, how can we connect with awesome providers like yourselves? Well, I appreciate it. That's a compliment.
Yes.
How can they connect with you?
Thank you. So I have my private practice. Am I allowed to say? Okay. Okay, so it's called Better Connections. You can just Google it, betterconnectionsfl.com, and just shoot me a message if you would like. It has all the information of my practice there. That's it. That's the only
Better Connections. Okay.
Slip in that I'm going to do on my practice. But yes, anything I can do to help both of us.
All right, I'll type it in, and you'll see me as a new patient. Pam, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Pam.
If I get back in the locums game, I'll definitely let you all know. I miss people. I miss it. Like the more I think about it, I've been home for a couple of days, and I miss everything out here. But at least like for social media, I'm here on Facebook. I live stream multiple times a week, Instagram as well, and coaching. Actually, we'll start the coaching again, but because Kevin had that set up. But in terms of like seeing patients, more than likely, like it'll like if I see patients, it'll be with locums. I don't know how else I do it, just to be honest, because my schedule's already erratic, and trying to figure things out.
They're gonna be able to work with.
Yeah, so it's helpful having somebody who, like can
hand
just
holding, literally like holding my hand all the way.
And a lot of people have shame about that. When you're a neurodivergent adult, like asking for help. I don't like asking for help, but with this, I don't know how else I would do it. So, it'd be great to just wake up and everything is lined up. Like all I want to do is like look at the information and then talk to the patient. And
that's what you get with them.
That's a luxury that a lot of providers don't have that luxury, to be honest. So that's why your doctor could be stressed out because they have to go out, they have to seek the collateral information. Because you can't just take a patient and they're depressed and what if they're bipolar and you need so much to be in place. I don't know how I would work without locums. That's just me personally.
I agree.
And that's just my honest, because I've never done it.
And it's difficult. Even I have both sides of things. I have starting my private practice and then doing locums. And this one at least is having your private practice, having your own business is very, very difficult and having to organize everything. So if it wasn't, again, I'm getting that help from locum tenens to kind of arrange the locum tenens inside my schedule, it would be extremely difficult.
Right. And good question right here. Where's the best place that you have traveled while doing locums?
I don't know. Can I say, because sometimes you are sent to assignments, but sometimes you can get some downtime and just go to another city. So I got assigned to New Hampshire and I was able to go to Boston. And I really like Boston. The food is incredible. The history is very good. I've never been.
I like you went to Boston when you were in New Hampshire.
Basically, but the assignment was in New Hampshire, so I did my.
It's right there, I've been to Boston. Boston's nice.
I liked it.
I like Boston. I went to Celtics game out there, but Boston's cool. For me, the best place I've traveled while doing locums, I mean, Los Angeles is my dream city. I love LA. So while I was in LA, and I'm still there, but I've done work, here with locum tenens, and I was just seeing patients from, I think they were in Virginia or so. They were on the East Coast. Okay. So for me, I wake up every day at 5 a.m. On the West Coast to work out. I know it was weird. It's a quirk.
Okay. No judgment.
Yeah, but I wake up super early to work out. So I like to be, and my family's on the East Coast, so I like being on East Coast time. So if I wake up at like 8 o'clock in California, it's 11 o'clock. I'm already behind. So to be able to be in California and see people on the East Coast, right? So 6 o'clock, like the workday starts, and I'm already up and awake, So it ends at 2 p.m. So like I love that. So I have the rest of my day at 2 p.m. to do whatever, but it's really 5 p.m. on the East Coast. So that might be specific to just me, but I really like that.
Waking up that early.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's a routine. How do you know you have a good psychiatrist you can trust? And how do you tell a psychiatrist they're not listening to you? This question is for you.
Wow. Okay. First of all, you should feel very comfortable bringing up things that maybe you wouldn't feel comfortable bringing up with your primary care. That's the bottom line, right? Like usually I feel like I have the complete trust of my patients and you should be able to talk about every single thing. so that they can
Mhm.
do a proper diagnosis, but also because you feel comfortable. That would be like a huge red flag if you don't. And then if I would, again, speak up, I would tell your provider, speak up for what you need. And if you need to be listened and they're not doing it, you should speak up to them.
Yeah, and a lot of like you're not on TikTok yet, right?
No.
So on TikTok, a lot of people like the running joke is the psychiatrists are very intimidating, and they're not. They're just like, oh,
Oh my God, that's terrible.
writing prescriptions. Oh, yeah, you have to see what the pulse is like, but that's the but they're not like you. Like they don't look like you. They don't have your affect. Don't have your energy.
Okay.
But
So
it's
the
really hard.
psychiatrists are just typing.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
it,
typing.
okay.
Like there's this funny video where the lady's pretending to be a psychiatrist, and she's like, "Oh, okay, so I'm just gonna like put in your meds. All right, cool."
Oh, that's terrible.
And she's asking the question, and she's answering for the patient.
That's terrible.
So a lot of people, like you could maybe a psychiatrist doesn't have time to talk to you like your therapist, but you should be able to be transparent like that.
Especially if you're going to prescribe, as a psychiatrist, you're going to prescribe a medication. So you have to trust the person because you're going to be putting something in your body.
Right.
So I even tell my patients, ask me all the questions you have, because you're not just going to take it, oh, like my psychiatrist told me to take this pills. No. You're putting something in your body. You have to trust the person. You have to trust and what you're putting in and know about it.
I completely agree. And some people, you'd be surprised how many folks are afraid to like, talk to their doctor and tell them the truth.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's sad because I say if you're gonna pay money to talk, like you shouldn't lie to your doctor.
And even if it's insurance, if it's Medicaid, whatever, it's your body and it's your mind. So you need to speak up and protect it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Someone says, what's the proper way to, so Virginia, the proper way to do this is to do it basically for your doctor's recommendation. I tell people all the time that you should never stop your meds. You should always listen to what your doctor is saying. And if you see anybody on social media, it wouldn't be one of us. But if you see anybody on social media telling you that, oh no, you Vyvanse, you go from 76, don't listen to that. Your doctor has to help you with that. That's a great question though.
It is.
Let me see. Oh, and the earlier question: no health insurance may qualify for Medicaid, Medicare, which will cover much treatment. Thank you for that, Risk.
Yeah.
And all right, and so it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm wearing this. Okay, you got the pin. I'm wearing this pin right here.
It was a hard time getting it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did it.
Oh, Mickey, it fell. I should have touched it.
Okay.
So I'm wearing. Oh, still there. All right, perfect. So I'm wearing this pin here because it's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wearing it. And here at Local Tens, we all want to encourage you all to talk about mental health to friends, and it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be something that's awkward. And even what we're doing here, I love this so much because like now we're out of scrubs and we're just here as regular people, and trying to talk to you all. And I think mental health awareness should really be all year.
Exactly.
But in May, we have the chance to talk about it and to really break the stigma, and because of that, that's why people go out and seek help.
Yeah.
And I do believe that that's, life-changing.
And I think it should be the whole month. Try to have like something planned. Like I was telling most of my patients, bring it up at work, or let's just talk it over with a friend. Like at least every week, just touch on this subject a little bit.
Yeah,
so
I love that. And Sarah says we need to change that, bringing fun and bubbly energy back to mental health. Yeah, that's what we need to do, and like I don't think it's by accident. Like I know you all see the locums thing on here, but I don't think it's by accident that you have two locums providers who are happy and energetic, because when you are satisfied at work and you're happy, you're going to bring your best self out there. It's a big thing. That's why I tell people to do locums all the time. If they want to do like a job at a hospital and like work for the state, that's not bad. Like, different strokes for different people. But when all your needs are met, because there's a difference between needs and wants.
Yes.
Like with locums, all of my needs are met, and a lot of my wants are met too, versus like some needs are met. Like if some needs are not met, you can't be happy and bubbly, and you can't be the best person for your patients. So when if I have a provider under locums, I feel confident that this is somebody who they want to be there, because sometimes you're not sure if your doctor wants to be there.
That's so sad.
Yeah, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. So like a locums provider, more than likely they want to be there, and that's big for me, because if I'm having an appointment with a doctor and they're kind of like looked at the time and they're trying to rush out,
the typing,
right? Then what you say to yourself is, okay, like I'm gonna find somebody else eventually, or I'm not gonna bring up my real issues because they're watching the time. Rusty Russell, I appreciate you. Everything is going to be okay. Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Everything is going to be okay. And Mallory, I didn't forget your question, the correlation of alcoholism and ADHD. So this is why I think that it's really helpful for people to get a diagnosis in time, because a lot of times it's funny because a lot of times untreated ADHD can lead to substance use. So like you really just you think you're drinking because you're out with your friends, but that's how you cope with everything. So sometimes when you get the proper help, you could not you could be sober and you could be doing great. You have any points on
No,
that?
absolutely. So the research shows that, right? Like substance, if you treat ADHD, the substance use goes down tremendously.
Yeah.
Because it's a way to cope. It's a way to control maybe impulses or thinking, having 20 tabs open at the same
Yeah.
time. So I'll just drink and kind of medicate myself, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a good coping way to do it. So once they get treatment, that alcoholism or substance use drops.
Right. It's helpful to mention this because a lot of people are, I don't know how you are, everybody's different with it, but sometimes providers are hesitant to prescribe stimulants.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't have any issue with it, but some people just don't want to touch ADHD at all, for whatever reason.
But it's sad because then it leads obviously to the substance use is going to get worse.
Right.
And that
right.
goes back to that trust of like you trusting your patient. Like I know I made a diagnosis of ADHD. If you get this treatment, the other one is going to get
Exactly. And Leilani is just saying, yeah, she's been watching enough the live streams. She knows. And this is why it's cool to have people on live streams, because that way you can go and educate your friends.
Yes.
Stop drinking on bad days to avoid abuse. That's awesome. Rusty, we love to answer your question. Let me see. How does a person struggling with mental challenges know when it's time to seek serious help? Ooh, good question right here. What would you
Should
say
be
to
at
that?
any time. It's like if you have a little bit of an elbow pain or you have headache for like a week, you go to your primary care and you speak about it. So if you're having any mental challenges, it shouldn't even be like, there shouldn't be a stigma for you to reach out.
Right.
So that's why I think it's so important to talk about this. Like I think if you feel like you're struggling or a person is struggling, reach out immediately.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be straight away to a doctor. Now, the more linear the path is to a professional, the better. But if you have a friend, like if you're going through a hard time, just talking to somebody else is helpful, because the more you sit down there and isolate and think to yourself, you make up scenarios or you feel like you're the only one going through it. And it's really easy to isolate when you're struggling. So just reaching out to a friend could be a good first step. Like a friend's not your therapist, they're not your doctor, but it can be a good first step. And good question here. I feel like I saw you answer this question before on another video.
Really?
Yeah, because I was trying to stalk you and see like all the things you talked about online.
So ADHD versus CPTSD. That's such a I don't know. They're so combined. I'm sorry. They're like super combined
Right.
because even CPTSD, I was trying to like, how do you tease out like ADHD when it's CPTSD? There's so much overlap.
Yeah.
And then the research say that, and I'm going to talk more about females, right? Female with ADHD are like 30 times, like, insane amounts more likely to be diagnosed or be prone to CPTSD and to PTSD in general. So it is very difficult. If we take the DSM-5, which is like this rigid old kind of book, and we read through it, there's going to be certain differences in symptoms, right? Like at least the nightmares, and there's certain things that correlate more with the CPTSD. But absolutely, the emotional dysregulation is in both, the hypervigilance or irritability is in both. There's a lot of overlap. And it can be that there's both present.
Yeah, no, and that's what I kind of see more times than not. That was a great answer. And even like PTSD,
Sorry.
like even PTSD, there's so many symptoms. So it's really hard to distinguish. Life is so much better after that. I agree.
That's beautiful.
Leilani, I don't want to pee on myself if I drink too much water, but I have a kid's bladder. Heart has been racing for 8 weeks now. I don't know what to do about it. I'm not too sure about that. Rusty, I would say a lot of things can cause like heart racing. I'm not too sure. And whenever I don't know, I always say I don't know because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But I mean, like sometimes people's heart race is anxiety, or maybe it's a side effect from the medications. But
needing more water.
Yeah. A good thing to do is like if you are taking meds, like check in with your doctor and just kind of go through your history. So many things can cause, like a racing heart or just that, state of mind where you're in overdrive. Let me see.
So many good questions.
This is some awesome questions.
Can I throw in this and this for a second?
Yes. Let's plug that in. And then we'll get to Sarah's question.
Okay.
You're just showing it to them?
I'm just showing it. I don't.
Yeah. Keep in mind, somebody's going to win this mug right here. I have one in LA. I wanted to bring it, but I had to come here quickly, so I didn't have a chance to pack it. So the Stanley Cup, and this is perfect for water breaks, but it's also amazing for the gym too. Like I'll put my protein powder in there.
It's like 40 ounces. You told me. I don't know how much it's
No,
I don't know.
it's quite big.
I don't know.
This is going to be a staple for you, along with the book. And then also, her book will be coming out soon too. So be on the lookout for that. And somebody says, Savage Clark, I don't have a store, but I'll be working on it. How about one parent scaring the child with ADHD, ADHD from medicine, but then turns around and tells the kid marijuana is fine under parental supervision? Sarah, it sounds like a very specific question here. I'm not sure what's going on, but medicine is very helpful. You know, like the meds, like if you're talking about ADHD, the stimulants are probably one of the most effective things that you can do. You know, I live in California where cannabis is legal, but I think it could be helpful, but it's not harmless. That's the main thing I want people to know. It's not harmless. And if you have ADHD, you know, you already might struggle with memory. You know, so substances that can make it difficult to remember things, and you might disassociate more. It can make it harder. You know, like if you didn't win the genetic lottery, you know, in the sense that if you have like bipolar or mainly schizophrenia, you got to be very, very careful with cannabis. You have to be extremely careful.
And in the child, the brain is still developing, so we don't want to throw toxic stuff at it.
Yeah. So under parental supervision, makes me feel a little bit of a way, but I do believe you know, like with psychedelics and, you know, the research, there's so much that we don't have that we could use that's helpful. But if we can just wait until we could, like, you know, get the research on it, you know, it's gonna be hard to like get evidence-based information on cannabis, but it's not impossible. Like they're already doing it with psilocybin in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, they are.
You know, so hopefully we'll have more information, you know, to give you all about different ways to help yourself. I already have that book. I'm ready for the cup. All right.
Oh,
says,
good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. And Sarah says, thank you. That backs up my stance. So afraid the other parent could cause an additional break. Thanks. Oh, yeah, no worries. But once again, I don't think cannabis is an evil thing, but is this not harmless? Because people say it's harmless, but it's not harmless. So, you know, the safest thing to do is to talk to your provider. Hopefully it's a local provider, and check in with them and see about what you should put in your body. And that goes for supplements and everything. You know, people are like, oh, this, that, ashwagandha. Just talk to your doctor, because things interact with things. So we could be here on the live stream with other people, but it could be different based on the person. How do you help someone with memory symptoms who doesn't want to use a list to deal with memory issues? Do you understand that question?
So I don't know if it's like maybe they need a list to kind of track and work with their memory. I am very visual, so if maybe a list is not too much, maybe even pictures would be a good idea. At least, and this is like memory issues, I'm thinking more of like dementia. And my grandfather, again TMI, had it, and we just took like pictures of magazines to kind of help him figure out like you know, the food
That's
picture
neat.
in the fridge and just little stuff like that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but maybe it would be better to just have more visual or learn how that person memory works.
Someone says color building notes and doodles. Oh,
great.
Ashley, I like that.
Ashley's the Spanish speaker, right? It says salud, I think.
Okay, then that's a Spanish speaker. I gotta get better at my Spanish. All right, let me answer this question. All right, if y'all have any questions, like anything about psychiatry, anything about, you know, the work-life balance of psychiatrists as it relates to locums, let us know as we wrap up. But let me answer this question here. How do you recommend people handle ADHD neurodiversity during job interviews and their jobs? I have to stop myself from saying anything. I feel like it's better to be open, but people say best not to mention it. Ooh. All right, so for me, I'd say when you go into the job, like you'd want to go early. You
Mhm.
know, account for all the things that you happen to do. Like if you're late everywhere, go an hour and a half early, and you might just get there like 15 minutes early. Like that's how I do things. And I don't know if I would mention it on a job interview, but when there's a question that they like to ask a lot, like, "What are your weaknesses?"
Yeah.
I hate that question, but I'll say things like, "Oh, I could be a bit better with time management." You know, like I might say the symptoms of like ADHD, or sometimes I struggle like working in spaces where it's like super loud. You know, so
Mhm.
like I would just kind of like allude to it without saying, "Oh, I have ADHD," because sometimes people may hear it. There's still a stigma. So people may hear
That's
it
the problem.
and be like, "Oh, I don't want to hire this employee,"
Yeah.
not knowing that this employee can balance seven things at one time,
Correct.
and they'll be the best, employee. So
Mhm.
I might mention, a little bit here and there, and as you feel more comfortable with, your manager, your boss, then you can talk to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great answer. I
yeah,
agree. Not maybe not in the interview, but
right.
slowly bringing it in.
Eventually.
Mhm.
And let me see, ADHD here. Marijuana made things worse for me. Friends, family always wanted me to, but had to hold my own. ADHD meds work so much better. Yeah, and I actually found uh, evidence. I don't know if you've seen this, that people with ADHD are three times more likely to use cannabis.
Yeah.
You know, um,
Yes. Yes.
so
Yes.
I think that, let's say if you're playing your own doctor, and I don't blame people who play their own
No,
doctor.
they're looking for something to make them feel
Right.
better.
So especially if you're like your mind's racing, it can be a natural thing to like say, okay, I'm going to try this. But if you talk to people who have tried ADHD meds and they've gone out to go to seek help and they've talked to a professional, like that's the video I should do. I should probably just talk to people after the first time that they took ADHD meds. Like I remember the first
Oh,
time
that would be beautiful.
I took it, like all the noise like just
That's a good way to put
quieted.
it. See?
Like I would
And
go
one tab after another. It's not like five at the same
a
time.
million
Oh,
tabs.
yeah.
Like I would go to the library and then like I would go and I would see, like
Oh,
if I knew you from class,
yeah.
we talk for an hour. And after she'd leave, I'd like watch like football highlights for like 3 hours. And then I would do my work. But
Yes.
once I got the proper help, like I would go to the laptop, I would open up my laptop and like I would just start doing my work. And like I would knock it out and that would release all the anxiety I had about like being behind and trying to like
And
catch
the
up.
frustration, the mood changes that come
Right.
from not being able to perform. It's like it's just
Right.
spiraling.
Right. And it tends to like, it's kind of like a stairway to depression.
Yes.
So yeah, meds might not work for everybody, but I think that they're very helpful. Let me see, maintain boundaries with family, friends. Boundaries are very important. And Chantel, life can be overwhelming sometimes. It can be overwhelming sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So we've had a lot of really, really good um, questions and feedback here. Whee! Candace Lewis. Candace, thank you for chiming in. So let me see what you're saying here. Crushed it. I want to say thank you to everybody who has joined in. Thank you for allowing me to have Dr. Diaz Fernandez here. It's been amazing, and people have alluded to Spanish and a couple of other things. I want to make content in Spanish, and I'll figure out how to use her expertise and bring you all more amazing content. And can we get the link for if people want to sign up for locums? Let me see if we can get the link in one more time. And then the moderators, if y'all can, you might be able to pin it on Facebook and also drop it in the Discord. We have a Discord for our online community, so we can drop the link in there because you never know who is a locums provider. And this is my method. Does Dr. is Fernandez, right?
Yeah.
It's Fernandez. Do you have a link?
No, I link to. Well, he's gonna help me with the TikTok and all
Yeah,
that.
we'll get her set up, and I'll put her information in the
He's
the
gonna help me.
Discord.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Leilani, can you drop the Discord in there as well? But for those people who are interested in locums, you can just fill out this form. If you're watching on Facebook, more than likely you may want to like screenshot it, and if you have an iPhone, you can actually screenshot and then go to your photos and like you can copy like the link
Okay.
and drop it into your browser. I don't know when the iPhone updated that, but that's super
Cool.
interesting. So if you're interested in locums, here's the Discord link, and I'll drop the information to Dr. Diaz Fernandez's stuff in there. But if you want to check out locums, this is how we do right here. TFA forums. I think that I have it on my think I have it on my beacons, but I'll make sure it's on my beacons in my bio as well. So thank you so much for everybody for checking in. No, this is fun.
I'm gonna get into all this.
Oh no,
Wait for it.
This is amazing. This is amazing. This is amazing. So once again, thank you so much, everybody.
Yes.
And y'all have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let me see what Nikisha said. One last second. We're not done yet. Currently trying to do my work, and I've been distracted by everything. Feeling tearful and frustrated with myself as it's due in tomorrow. Thanks for all this information. Probably the most helpful thing I've distracted myself with. Nikisha, I appreciate you. We'll give you a love of the show.
Thank you.
Congrats, Nikisha. Appreciate you. All right. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you all at the next live stream. Take care.